Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Revel and host Shorty, and once again, trying to do this over two devices, so we're going to get this right eventually. I think I found a better angle to do it than yesterday, though. And while I've got you here, let's discuss The Punisher. This is the latest reboot on Punisher. And it's kind of hard not to talk about like the other reboots that have happened as well. And I am going to spoil a little bit of this because it's kind of hard to discuss exactly what happens in this one without spoiling a little bit what's going to happen at the end. So if you've not read it and you genuinely don't want to find out what happens at the end of it, because it is a big deal, if you've not seen anything else about it, now is the time to turn off, go and read it if you've got it, and come back later. I totally don't mind, I'd take no offense, but I can have to warn people because if you are expecting a spoiler-free review, you're not going to get one. So, first off, let's talk about the comic book that we've got in front of us, which is Punisher, written by Jason Aaron, with artwork by, I apologize, I have forgotten the name of the artist. This is my bad. Jesus Says, I think is how you pronounce that. And the artwork is absolutely brilliant in its own way. It does a very unusual thing with its coloring. It's digital coloring, which is fine when it's done well, and this is done really, really well. It looks very organic, but it also looks like it'd feel more at home in a horror comic book than something a bit more regular, a bit more superhero-esque. The only thing that's kind of weirdly let it down is it's a vaguely kind of soft, organic, molded set of coloring, but then quite harsh ink lines on the outside of it. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a little bit inconsistent, but not enough to really bother me. Because what it does well, it does really well, which is the action sequences and facial expressions and just brutality. The kind of stuff you absolutely expect from Frank Castle being the Punisher. You're not really going to get a comic book that will feel authentically the Punisher without all that kind of stuff. And it's done really, really well. The story is an attempt, again, I think, to reboot Punisher in a way that might, I don't know, kind of let him off the hook a little bit. This has been attempted before. One of the most famous and most ridiculous versions is when he basically was killed and then brought back to life on Earth to be Tevin's assassin with magic angel guns. And it's derided for obvious reasons. It kind of loses an awful lot about what makes the Punisher, and it's also just silly. It didn't really work very well. It looked pretty, but it's understandable why that was dropped very quickly, and they give it to Garth Ennis, who did some fantastic stuff, even mixing some really good humor, but also concentrating on the brutality. What's also interesting is Garth Ennis did a very, very good job of understanding what made the Punisher. It wasn't so much like this drive to do good. He was just a dude who really liked doing murders. If you go back and look at a lot of Ennis' stuff, including the bits where he absolutely refuses to accept that Cyan Kong's an actual thing, and is always going to set his origin stuff in Vietnam, regardless of what anyone else tells him, it never hides the fact that this guy is not a good person. And that's one of the story beats which is quite important throughout a lot of Frank Castle. His wife and kids dying was the reason why he did it. Different people have given different takes on that, but the most popular one that I've seen, the one that seems to hold a lot more water, is actually the idea that he would have done this kind of thing anyway. It wasn't so much that this was like the catalyst to take an organized crime. It was the permission he needed. There's no moral equivocation anymore. He just went, yeah, you know what? I want to do this. This is a good enough excuse, so I'm going to do this. And there's also the take on it that his wife was pretty much probably going to leave him anyway. He was not a good person to live with. He was kind of obsessed with murder. And that's not the kind of person you want around your kids. So the idea that she died when she did, potentially having this picnic in the park as a way of building up to telling him that she wants to move on, her dying then, it means he never has to deal with the idea that she was going to leave him. It just gives him the freedom to constantly use her as an excuse he needs to do lots of murdering. Now here we get to the big spoiler, because he's now going and working with the Hand. Basically being like their king of killers, and that's a really nice concept. I love that he fits in very, very nicely with the Hand, and they use it as a storytelling device really effectively. A lot of the information you get, a lot of the exposition is done from one character within it narrating what's happening, and it does a really good job. It's very well written. I absolutely have no complaints whatsoever about it. But one thing the Hand can do, and we know they can do because of the whole Elektra thing, is they can bring people back from the dead in some way. I've never really looked into the whole thing of how it works, but they do this, huge spoiler, this is your last chance, to Frank Castle's wife, Maria, as a way of bringing him back. Bring him under the fold of the Hand. They still absolutely line him up with a whole bunch of victims from to murder, but they also use them for their own means as well. And I like that is, they still have their own reasons for doing what they're doing, and there's an almost worshipful kind of thing of Frank Castle, but you never get any kind of sense that they are doing this for altruistic reasons. So as much as we might be trying to reimagine a Punisher where he is a better person, or he might be doing this for the right reasons, he's still working for an ostensibly evil organization because they want him to do as many murders as possible. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually interesting. I like a lot of the takes they've done on it, and I can't wait to read more. We've almost completely sold out of it, which is pretty damn good to say. It only came out yesterday. So why I'm reviewing it today. I was going to leave it until tomorrow and review Hit Me today, but we've only got one copy of it left in store, and I wanted to review it for then. So your local comic store probably has a few copies. If you want to read it, do not leave it too long. That's it for me today, though. I'll be back tomorrow with another review. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.